So we've got a 2015 Dodge Charger Pursuit model, all-wheel drive with a 5.7 liter V8. This model does still have the older style power steering pump with the reservoir in the behind the fender liner, and generally you have to take off this wheel and then remove all the plastics or all the fender liners on the front side at very minimum, just to get to the reservoir. And so even if you don't currently have a leak, I'd recommend doing this, and then for future maintenance. So if you ever get in there and you're just, even if you don't have any issues, but if you ever get in there to change your fluid or just to check it, I'd recommend doing this. It's easy, and it doesn't take much longer than just, it won't add much to your time if you're already getting in there. So basically, I believe it's 2011 to 2015. Obviously 2011 to 2014 is the most common models with the reservoir inside of the wheel well behind the fender liner. So even if you don't currently have a leak, I'd still recommend this tip. It's just easy, and that way if you're ever on the road and you have problems, or say your power steering kind of starts feeling funny, it obviously could be because you have really old power steering fluid, but it also could be that you're getting low on fluid, because there is this reservoir in here behind here. The reservoir's here, and it's connected directly to the housing, and the O-rings in there go bad, and it starts leaking from there, and that's very common. I didn't have the leak from there in this Charger. I had the leaks on another seal. So this is a very common issue, the reservoir leaking. So I would recommend this either way, whether you have problems now or not, because if you're ever on the road or you take a road trip, because that's when I had this issue on the highway, and all of a sudden I lost power steering, and I kept driving. You shouldn't do that, but I did, and I was fine. It could have damaged the internals on the pump, but it did have fluid in there, so it's unlikely. But next time you get this guy off, I'd recommend just kind of either eyeing it or measuring it. So once you take this liner off, kind of mark where your power steering pump's at, and then take a razor blade. I don't recommend cutting this when it's completely installed like this, because there is wires back there that run to the power steering housing right next to the reservoir, and you could cut those wires. So I'd recommend, at least what I did is I'd recommend pulling this liner back a little bit, so you disconnect it, pulling it back a little bit, and cutting it so you're not cutting up against those wires. So now when I need to add fluid, all I do, or even if I want to do a change, all I do is pull this guy out. If I can get a hold of the dang thing, just push on the top here, and it does stay in pretty good the way I cut it. So pull this guy out, and your reservoir's right there, and you got the cap right there. You take a funnel and fill that up. Just crank your wheel all the way to the right, and you'll be able to get in here. So this is obviously if you're on the road, you're not going to want to take your wheel off, jack your car up at a gas station or something, and take that wheel off and pop those clips out, and then add fluid, and then do the whole procedure back, in opposite order. You're generally not going to want to have to do that. So, it is something I'd recommend. So yeah, that's about it. And this is really the only issue I've had on this vehicle, is a power steering leak. So, either way, until you can get it fixed, whether you have the money now or even if you don't even have an issue, it's a good idea. And this piece does stay in there, and it's still going to keep 99% of contaminants and dirt out, So anyway, hope this tip helps out a few people.